Don't you want that fizzy? To be fucked?
I mean... No, not really, actually.
2 episodes in a row focused on Fizz. Us Fizz fans have been eating lately, haven't we? But I have a feeling from here on out, Fizz is going to be playing a lot less significant roles in the story, because to me, this episode felt like the overall conclusion, or at the very least, one of the main conclusions to his character arc, that being breaking free from the toxic show business environment he's been stuck in for several years. This, combined with making amends with Blitz, makes me think that'll end up being the case, but if I'm wrong, that's fine too. As for the show business thing, it's all because of Mammon. We've known for a while Fizz was working with Mammon and Ozzy, but his relationship with Mammon was a lot more serious on the business side of things. The thing with this guy is, he's the embodiment of everything wrong with the entertainment industry, or just, toxic bosses in general, which makes sense considering he's Hell's sin of greed. But even still, this guy really did a number on Fizz's mental health. Fizz looked up to this guy since he was 5 years old, pretty much being the main reason Fizz strove to be such a strong performer. I feel like this idolization of Mammon is part of the reason why Fizz became the best performer at Blitz's family circus. That combined with natural raw talent, of course. Whereas Blitz, on the other hand, just had a sense of humor that didn't really stick with audiences super well, and he didn't really vibe with Mammon's performing style. That part in particular wasn't revealed until the beginning of this episode, though, where we got the flashback of Blitz and Fizz at one of Mammon's concerts, presumably the same one they took the selfie together at that we saw in the season 1 finale. And when it comes to Mammon's performance skills, I kind of agree, to be honest. I still like the guy as a character because he does the job the showrunners intended for him to do very well, but in terms of performance skills within the context of the show, Fizz clears. Blitz was definitely the odd one out here, though, because Fizz and pretty much everyone else in the audience was eating this concert up, where Mammon eventually announces he's going to host some kind of clown pageant in the future, where the winner will become the new face of Mammon's brand throughout hell. Fizz is extremely passionate about partaking in this, so he can finally prove himself to the demon he's looked up to all his life. Winning this pageant would mean gaining the approval from Mammon and getting to live his dream as a major performer, where he can make even bigger audiences smile. Problem is, all the work over the years was really starting to get to him. In a way, he was being turned into some, corporate toy that Mammon was just using to fill his pockets with more moolah. The Robo-Fizz dolls were the biggest examples of this, I say, or one of the big examples. Fizz really didn't like the concept of them and how they were marketed. Like how people could just clap the robot's cheeks if they wanted, or just, sit on them like chairs. But because Mammon was the one behind this, Fizz never spoke up or had the courage to just leave the business altogether, despite how many things made him uncomfortable about his work. It was out of fear that his life would just become worse by default if he didn't abide by these rules. Even the pageant was another thing that Fizz was stressed out about. This pageant that Mammon announced at his concert wasn't a one-time thing. It was something that was held several times over the years, and Fizz had to keep participating in every single one. He was able to win all of them in the past, and another one was on the horizon during the events of this episode. Ozzy in particular was highly against the idea of Fizz competing because he feels like Fizz has just been overworking himself a lot, especially after the whole situation with Stryker and Crimson being super recent. Ozzy just wants Fizz to take it easy for a bit, and understandably so. But just like the Robo-Fizz situation, Fizz feels like he needs to be partaking in these every time out of fear that Mammon will just cast him aside for someone else if he doesn't get first place. This kind of care from Ozzy just goes to show how insanely healthy the relationship these two have is. I'll get more into that in the future, but it's almost weird how nice Ozzy is. Like, most of these main characters in Helluva Boss have a bit of a harder side to them, and that could be because we're in hell or whatever, but Ozzy has been so nice to just about everybody he's interacted with in these past 2 episodes, the ones who aren't directly hurting the ones he cares about, that is. I suppose I can't even really argue that it's weird for one of the 7 deadly sins either, because Beelzebub was super nice too. It's just funny to me how 2 of the 7 deadly sins of all characters act more compassionately towards others than a lot of other characters in hell. Mammon's really the first time we've physically seen one of the sins really act like a sinful bastard. But I feel like Lucifer will end up fitting that bill too when Hezbollah Hotel comes out. Eventually, Ozzy gives Blitz a call in hopes of helping convince Fizz not to take this year's clown pageant too seriously, under the guise of Blitz acting like a extra security guard. Despite Blitz's countless claims for Fizz to just stop taking Mammon's word as law all the time, Fizz can't help it. Especially with the competition being stiffer than ever this year, with the glam sister clowns participating. Them being actual good performers combined with them constantly attacking Fizz's character, he felt like he needed to prove himself even more now. Obviously, he took the previous pageants seriously to begin with, despite the competition not being too crazy, just out of the underlying fear of losing Mammon's attention, but that fear was amplified tenfold this time around. The 2 of them were able to match scores with Fizzarelli for all the smaller showings, so his anxiety just kept festering, to the point where he wanted to completely opt out of the fan meet and greet that occurs before the final performances. Mammon completely completely goes against this idea, though, using the guilt of Fizz disappointing his fans and wanting to make Mammon happier in general, you know, his hero. Then there's the whole situation with that one crazed fan completely calling out Fizz's sellout behavior. This guy was shown earlier in the episode after Fizz and Blitz were on their way home from Mammon's concerts. He was always a bit of a nut job from the start, but this guy also did his job within the context of the show quite well, in my opinion, because it felt like this guy was supposed to represent the toxic / crazy fans celebrities have to deal with on a regular basis, which I think was incorporated and paired very well with Mammon's actions throughout the episode, which of course represent the power-hungry managers / corporate higher-ups that try to control the lives of the talent they manage. This fan started off as someone who wanted to work with Fizz really badly and just kept pushing and pushing for it, clearly showing zero boundaries whatsoever, but Fizz was too scared to properly confront him at the time, and Blitz kept having to step in to get the guy to back off. And the same thing kind of happened in the present day when the guy crashed Fizz's meet and greet. Though the guy's attitude was a lot different this time around. He was acting like a total asshole and not respecting boundaries, but at the same time, he wasn't necessarily wrong about Fizz selling out. Fizz's public appearances had become very commercialized and less authentic. And Fizz himself knew this. And if we're being honest though, fans like this guy would still exist even if Fizz did things his own way. It's just the reality of it. When you become that big in the entertainment industry, you're gonna have people who hate your guts for some reason or another. Fizz, of course, can't defend himself, having a full-on panic attack with everything just becoming too much for him to handle in the moment. Big props to Blitz for defending him again from the same guy though, completely knocking him on his ass with the back of his sniper. It was super satisfying to watch.
You're not done with me, Fizzerolly.
Fizz ends up going back to his dressing room where he starts to freak out over his makeup smudging, feeling like he needs to be as perfect as possible. Soon after, Ozzy walks in and tries to comfort Fizz some more, trying to get him to back out of the competition again. Fizz completely breaks down after this, venting about how if it wasn't for Mammon giving him a platform, then he'd have nothing. Mammon is indirectly responsible for Fizz and Ozzy even getting together thanks to all that publicity, fearing that if Fizz was out of the public eye from here on out, Ozzy wouldn't even have a reason to stay with him anymore. But Ozzy assures Fizz that he genuinely loves him now and just wants him to be happy. The status doesn't mean anything to him now. I know the pacing for this season has been questionable for some, but I still very much appreciate this major moment for both Fizz and especially Ozzy. Ozzy was introduced as this guy who only cared about lust and thought things related to romance was a waste of time. Now we see him here in the present day confessing his love to Fizz and not caring if others know about their love.
Finally!
This was enough to finally convince Fizz to stand up to Mammon, breaking out into song for his final performance about how much of a bastard Mammon is and how he's completely quitting the business. With the overall events concluding with Mammon trying to call Fizz out, followed by Ozzy trying to throw hands with Mammon, revealing he and Fizz's romantic relationship in the process to Mammon and the entire pageant audience too, with said information spreading like wildfire throughout social media. So even though I said Fizz's character arc seems to be damn near done after this episode, if we do see another big focus on him, it's gotta be related to dealing with the reveal of he and Ozzy's relationship to the public eye. That's my guess anyway, because I'm not sure what else it could be used for at this point. Fizz still has hope for performing though, because there's still fans like that little deaf imp who support Fizz regardless of how he goes about his career, supporting him in a very tame way too. Like, this guy, he's the perfect kind of fan. I really love the premise for this episode though. I know the concept of showing the dark sides of the entertainment industry / being careful of idolizing someone too much has been done before, but it's something that never really gets old to me. This probably isn't the best example in the world, but Homelander from The Boys comes to mind. He's supposed to be the best hero and puts on this happy public image, yet acts like a complete nutcase behind the scenes, with characters like the Deep still doing Homelander's bidding out of fear of being outcast or even killed. It's scary and incredibly entertaining when well done. And I think Helluva Boss handled it pretty well here. Maybe it could have been done across more than just one episode, but I'm still pretty damn satisfied with the final product we've been given. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of this episode compared to the other ones in Season 2. I'd probably have it in my top 3 at least. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe for more content like this in the future. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.